Cool. We're recording Zoom now, right? Awesome. So today we're going to talk about ES6. The things we've talked about so far, I kind of asked for just a general brain dump. The first thing that we talked about was that ES6 function cannot be hoisted. Arrow functions are an ES6 feature. They can either have implicit or explicit return, object destructuring, anonymous functions. Cool. This is a great brain dump. Before we go any deeper, I want to first ask the question, what is ES6? What is ES2015? Is there a difference between those? But what does the actual term ES6 or ES2015 refer to? Who thinks they can answer that?
Script.
Who said that?
I did. Rodney.
That's you, Rodney. Sorry, I don't have like the video panel in front of me, so I can't see who's talking. I thought that was you though, but there was like a little blurb in the beginning. So stands for ECMA, right? ECMAScript. Cool.
ECMAScript 6. Yeah.
ECMAScript 6 or ECMAScript 2016. Cool. 2015. Sorry. Any other questions on that? Any other thoughts on what exactly it is? So given that it's called ECMAScript 2015, does anybody have an idea on what that means?
Is it like a version of something?
It's a version of JavaScript. Can you guess what year it came out? Just a hunch.
The hard one.
2014.
Minus 10 points for Jay. Get out of here. You're fired. You're expelled.
Let's go to Gryffindor.
It came out 2015. So this is literally all that this is 5 years ago, they said, hey, we're going to update JavaScript. Here are the updates that we're making. One of those things that they updated was, oh, let's add arrow functions. Another totally separate thing that they allowed you to do was object destructuring. I think there's some other ones in there. I cannot remember what they are. We could probably look it up. So, as you know, in this coursework, we definitely do not discourage looking things up ever. So, what features got added with, I think usually the internet likes it more when you type in ES6. Kyle likes ES2015 more because I think the official way is ES2015. Sweet. Template literals. What's a template literal? I don't actually know. I think it's just the backticks. Yep, that's all that it is. It's just the backticks. It's that thing that allows you to like interpolate strings. That's an ES6 thing apparently, which I did not know. Default parameters. Okay, those are pretty easy. Multi-line strings. Destructuring assignment. We'll talk about all of these, but cool. So we're going to talk about destructuring assignment. We're going to talk about arrow functions today. I think are probably going to be the #1 things that we talk about. There's also ES6 promises, which if you look at it, I think it's just a different syntax for promises than we're used to. I don't know. I'm not exactly sure. Promises get kind of clusterfucky, so we're going to avoid going into that today. But today we're going to talk about functions, ES6 functions, and ES6 destructuring. I think would probably be great times to go over that. So what we're going to do is we're going to dive right into it. Oh, whoops, I made that whole thing here. So I'm going to make we'll just make it, first thing that we'll do is we'll do the destructuring because that one's pretty easy. I'll call it destructuring.js. All that destructuring is a way of defining variables that's a little bit different syntax than we're used to. Let's say I want to say let a equals 5, let b equal, I don't know, 6. And then I want to say, let my, let's say I want to define both of those at the same time. Zoe, quiet. Sorry. Well, if I'm doing this, I could actually also write something like this. A, comma, B equals this array of 5, comma 6. Oh, whoops. Comma 6. Wow, Zoe is... Zoe! Hi. Be quiet, please. All right. So these dogs have been a handful lately. Let's go ahead and prove that that worked by console.logging these. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to console. Oh, whoops. Forgot I have caps lock on this computer. Console.log A, comma B. And if this worked correctly, then I should be console.logging 5, comma 6. Let's see. I have to give this a save. Node destructuring.js. So what this is destructuring an array. So in other words, what I'm saying is whatever A is, it's going to correspond with that 0th index. That's how I'm defining A. Whatever B is, it's going to correspond with that next index. Cool. Likewise, I could do something like this. Let's say I have a function, and it's really the same thing, just in a different situation. Let's say I have a function, I don't know, print array or something like that. And I have an array, and I want to print everything inside of the array. So I'm just going to do console.log. We'll do, let's just assume that it's like a 2-term array. So I'll do array 0, and then I'll do array 1. Okay. So we can check to see if this works. I'm going to type in print array, and then I'm going to pass in 1, comma 2. And all it's going to do is print out each term of that array, right? Let's run it. Cool. So I printed out 1, and then I printed out 2. Well, an alternative way for me to write that is to destructure it. Maybe I want to do A and B out of the array. So that means when I pass in this array of 1, comma 2, I am pulling out A and I'm pulling out B at the same time. So instead of console.logging those, I can just console log A and B, and it works. Now, all of this seems kind of weird. So actually what I'm going to do after I prove to you that this works is I'm going to have you all write this function yourself. Bam, it still works. Awesome. Hey, Doomy. Doomy is hopping up on this table. Cool. So now what I want y'all to do is I'm going to put you into breakout groups of, where is my Zoom at? Actually, I'm not going to do breakout groups, but I'm going to give y'all 2 minutes. And what I want you to do is, using destructuring, I want you to write a function that sums all of the terms. Let's say it's an array is going to have 3 terms. Array will have 3 terms. And I just want you to rewrite this to where you are returning the sum of an array with 3 terms using destructuring. So we're just going to call it, we're going to call this function sum 3-term array. Not a really useful function, but it's useful for showing you array destructuring. So I'm going to give y'all a minute starting. Let's see. Now. Also, are y'all with me? Because I can't see anybody because. Somebody say something if you're there.
Woo.
Oh yeah, y'all are still here, I think. Can y'all hear me? Because right now I can't hear anybody.
Yeah, can you hear us?
Yeah, we can hear you.
John?
John,
I'm just
Can you
gonna
hear us?
stop my share for a second.
Oh,
Oh yeah, y'all have been here. I just can't hear
Yeah.
y'all. That's weird.
Oh.
Oh, I muted it. Sorry about that. I was like, what is going on here? Cool. How is this little mini assignment going?
Can you put your screen back up?
Yes.
Thank you.
Oh, it's been more than a minute. Who has an answer? Anybody? Who gave it a shot that would like to just share what they did? I don't know who just laughed, but I want to call on you. It was you, Music. You're the only one unmuted. Go ahead and share your
Oh,
show us what you tried doing.
no, I don't know if I did it right.
That's okay.
Okay. So I have to share my screen.
Mhm.
Okay. I definitely did it wrong, but
That is not wrong. The only thing is that the way you called it is, well, okay. The function should be called some 3-term array when you're calling it, right?
yeah.
And then you're passing in a specific array. So you did array, and then I don't know what those brackets are supposed to mean, but yeah, you're just passing in a specific array. And why don't you console.log that result that you get there? So the
Here?
result, no, I would say on line 5, console.log line 5. So cool. This should be right. Let's see if it's right.
Now what?
Did you save it before you ran it?
Oh, no.
Cool. So it worked. You summed all 3 terms. You destructured it so that way A wound up equaling the first term, B wound up equaling the second term, and C wound up equaling the third term. This is destructuring an array. Now I'm going to show you all destructuring an object. Cool. We're going to go here. This time, to destructure an object is really similar. With an object, though, instead of doing it with brackets, we're actually going to do it with this. So I'm going to add a let here also. And let's say I make my object name equals John, age equals I'm 10 years old. And I don't know, hair color. Oh, whoops, JavaScript is going to be none. Like my pun there. Cool. So let's say I have this. How do you think I would pull out name? How do you think I would maybe define my name out of this? Anybody have a guess?
Key?
So I could just type in name. And guess what? Now if I console.log my name, I will have pulled out my name from there and turned it into a variable. So if I type in node, destructuring, oops, I fucked something up. None is not defined. Oh. That's what I meant. Sorry about that. I blame Doomslayer. Hey, look at that. Now I define my name there from this key value pair here. What I'm going to say is you don't need to be good at doing this right now, but if you're in mod 4, you're at the point where you're going to start seeing instructors do this. And if you want to understand what the hell they're doing and why, my suggestion is you dick around with this a little bit on your own time. I'm not going to go too deep into it right now, but the concept that you can pull something out like this, by the way, I could do age the same way. So I could pull out age instead. Or I could pull out multiple things at the same time. Like I could pull out age here. And now I can console.log name and age. Now here's my question. So, if I flip this order here, let's say I do it like this, age, name, is that going to flip the order here? Call it out if you think, say I, if you think it's going to flip the order. Say I if you think it's not going to flip the order.
I.
Right, it's not going to flip the order because with an array, the order is what matters. It's like, okay, the 0th index, the first index, so on and so forth. Here, it's not like that. It's by key, so the order does not matter. So if we note, it's going to order in name, age, whatever that order is what it's going to be. And as we can see, that did not flip it.
So what if you had an array of objects? If you added another key with like toys, what are John's toys?
So let's say you had an array of objects. You can only destructure like one layer at a time. So I could only destructure like it was an array. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
To my knowledge, I've never tried destructuring deeper than that.
So if you had an array in here, then when you console logged, it would be the array plus all of its elements. That's what would show up, right?
That was a loaded question, my friend. I think that it would need to be a little bit more specific in order for me to answer that correctly and know what you mean.
Okay, well let's do a quick live sesh here, right? So like if you add in between line 4 and 5.
Mm-hmm.
And let's go toys. Yeah, let's just make it an array, not a simple array, and let's just drop in some of your favorite toys.
Obviously.
Nice. So now when you call toys in your destruction, I'm not sure if that was the right word. I'm just curious to see what that looks like.
I get that array. That works. That was only one layer still, right? Like the only thing is, what does toys equal? Toys equals that array. That's totally fine.
Okay.
Now, if I wanted to destructure toys, I would have to do another line. I would have to say let, I don't know, toy 1, toy 2, toy 3 equal, whoops, toys. I could do that too. Let's just console log toy 1, right? That works too.
Got it.
But it's a separate line. So like each line of code, you're only really destructuring one thing at a time. That makes sense. Cool. All right, let's go to functions. I think destructuring is one of those things that like, you're going to find that just the more you do it, the better you get at it. It's not necessarily like a hard and fast thing to learn. Like you can't just cram that down and expect to be good at it. What I would say is practice it a little, play around with it in a REPL, just mess around with it. I think that's the best way to kind of like understand it intuitively. You could try doing a function. So maybe I could be like function, I don't know, show person traits or something like that. This is a very useful thing to know is how do I destructure it here? So I could destructure it like that. I could pull out age, name, toys, for example. And then maybe I just want to show the person. So I could say console.log, like here is name. He is age, years old. Below, find a list of their toys. Bam. Cool, I'll do that. And then I'll say, toys is just an array, so I could treat it like an array. So I could say toys dot for each toy, I don't know, not Tory. Console.log toy. And then now what I could do is I could invoke show person traits on, let's make this a person. So let's say my person. And hey, look at that. Here is John. He is 10 years old. Below, find a list of their toys. Computer, guitar, Doomslayer. Does that make sense to everybody?
Mm-hmm.
Cool beans. Now it's time to talk about arrow functions. Awesome. First thing that we're going to do is we're just going to write an arrow function. Function, hello world. And let's say greeting. And we're going to return, I don't know, let's go greeting. Whoops. Plus a space plus world. So now I'm going to run this function. I'm going to say hello world and what's up is going to be my greeting. And I want to console log this. Cool. So here's a function that has a piece of functionality. I want all of you to take 20 seconds to copy it down. I'm going to run it. Node arrow function.js. Run this. And it does this. It says, what's up, world? Cool. What I want all of y'all to do after you've copied down this function is to refactor it to be an ES6 function without me telling you anything about arrow functions. I want you to just Google it and see if you could figure it out. And I'm going to put 2 minutes on the clock for you to do that. Starting now. See if you can convert this to an arrow function. 28 seconds left. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen so get some feedback from people. Well, that's the time. All right, so fist of 5 on how that felt. 4, 4, 2, 2. Okay. Junior, why don't you go ahead and share what you did? Oh, I see a 5. Cool. All right. Sweet. So you created an arrow function. Looks good. All right. Cool. Music, you want to share what you did? I saw five fingers. Nice, 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 nice. Let's get someone who maybe didn't do so well and see if we can figure out why. So how about Rodney? Would you mind sharing? Zoe really wants you to share.
Yeah, I was just more reading the doc on it.
That's fine.
Get to which spot here. So let's.
Okay, so how would you turn that? That's not an arrow function, right? How do we turn that into an arrow function?
What I do? Const greeting equals greeting arrow function. What's up? And I don't know where to go from here.
You're so close. So let's see if we can figure that out. So right now, those curly braces that you have, press enter. Right now, the syntax, it's going to work exactly like a function block. So if you just type in, if you literally copy line 2 and put it here, it's going to work exactly the same. That's your function block. And it's the same thing in ES5. The difference is that beginning part is a little bit different. Let's just prove to ourselves that that worked. Why don't you go ahead and try, well, you said you called it greeting though. It should be called hello world. So let's call it hello world. No, hello world has an argument of greeting. So that's the argument, right? So that would still be greeting. And then the function would be called hello world. So that first greeting on that line, like after const, you're going to call that hello world. That's your function name. The other one is your function argument.
Okay. So then if I call, well, I still need that there.
Yep. Let's see if it works. I don't think it will because you have both functions active at the same time. Just comment out the first one. Yeah. Let's see if that works. Oh, you're also missing a parenthesis on line 10.
Oh.
What? Oh,
I think you may have misspelled your file name.
yeah, I think that's all.
Thank you.
Cool.
What's up?
What is Upworld? Cool. So that worked. Awesome. Sweet. So, cool. That's the base thing. I'm going to show you all some interesting stuff about arrow functions, and then we're going to get a little deeper after that. So some things to note. Oh, whoops. I just shared my code, but whatever, this will be fine. So some interesting stuff about arrow functions. I want y'all to write these down with me. Arrow functions cannot be hoisted. That's the first thing. The second thing is that if you don't have curly brackets, then it is implicitly returned. But must be one line. One line return. Cool. Also, what else is there? You don't need parentheses around your argument if there's only one argument. What else is there? Let me think.
Do you need parentheses around your code block on a one-liner?
You could do that. I think if you're doing a one-liner, though, it kind of defeats the whole purpose of doing a one-liner if you are just going to dump parentheses around it and make it a multi-line return. I mean, well, it depends on the situation. Sometimes it looks nice. But yeah, like, I think I should modify this to say if you don't have curly brackets, then the return thing has to start on the same line. But basically, we call them single line returns. Technically, you could make a single line return multiple returns. Let's just like maybe show you. Let's say, let's make a function, make person, and then you're going to pass in a name and an age, right? Cool. And what you want to return is an object that has name, and then age will be age. Cool. A pretty lame function here. Let's check to see that it works. So I'm going to say console.log make person, and we'll go John. And then I'm 49,000 years old. 49,000. Great. Let's see what we get here. Cool. So now I created this object. Notice how like this return statement, it's starting here, but it's technically a multi-line return. We would still, if it was like an implicit return, you could implicitly return that and have a multi-line return without like a parenthesis or anything like that. But you're starting it here. Does that make sense? It's kind of confusing. Let's refactor this now. First, let's turn it into an arrow function. So to turn it into an arrow function, basically you're creating a variable called the function name, and then pointing an arrow towards, I'm sorry, saying it equals like the arguments, and then point an arrow towards the block that you want to execute. So in this context, these curly brackets indicate that we're entering the block of code. In this context, these curly brackets are an object, not a block of code. So now let's go ahead and run this and make sure it still works. Bam, still works. Cool beans.
So would that also work if you just made it a one-liner? So if you got rid of the return and the second pair of curlies?
Let's find out. I think the answer is, I'm actually not sure. Believe it or not. I think this might need parentheses around it because it's confusing to it. Yep. So I think this.
No, I mean like bring the key value pairs into line 7 and close off the curlies.
bring.
So go back, forward, I mean, take,
So get
take
rid of.
that, yep, and bring name up to line 7.
Oh, you're saying like,
Mm-hmm.
well, you still need a return statement there because it's in curlies, right? So I see what you're saying. I think I see what you're saying.
That's what I was thinking, just without that extra pair of curlies, now that we got rid of that return.
Ah, so you're saying get rid of these?
Yeah.
I still don't think that works because I think it's reading this like a function block. So watch, try it out. So yeah, so it doesn't know that this isn't a function block right now. It's reading it like a function block. If we want to confirm that it's not a function block, we can wrap it in parentheses. So I think that works.
Hey, John, what if you took the colon, name, and age off? Because I thought if they were the same, if the key and value pair were the same, you could just put
Oh yeah,
name.
you can structure this here if you wanted to, but it would be useless in this case. Let's not worry about destructuring right now. Oh yeah, you're saying doing that? Yeah, you could do that. Actually, that is a JavaScript shorthand. So if it's like the name equals the variable, you could, if the key equals the variable for value, this is another JavaScript shorthand. So this actually works too. Good call, Rodney. So yeah, that works. But the important thing to note here is that once you enter this block, you need to specify that return. So once I enter this block, if I were to run this right now, I would get undefined. Why? Because I haven't specified a return for this block. So I have to make sure that it knows, oh, okay, I'm returning something. Bam. So anybody have any questions about that? Another thing to note is that this won't work. That doesn't work. You can see it's just highlighted red. If you have multiple arguments, then you have to take those multiple arguments and wrap them in parentheses. That's just the notation here. That's the syntax.
Can you show an example
What are we at on time?
where
47. Love it. Cool. Who's got questions? Someone's got to have questions.
Can you hear me, John?
We're about to go trippy mode. It's about to get trippy.
Only can hear you.
No questions. All right, now I got questions for y'all then.
Yo.
Where have we seen arrow functions?
I don't think.
Where actually, let me just rephrase that question. Where have you seen fat arrows like that?
He can't see.
Where
or
have you seen that? Regardless of whether or not it's an arrow function, I'm curious. Where in our codes have we seen that? Start calling it out.
He's not going to answer, this guy's.
John.
Oh, right.
John, what happened?
Messages. Oh, am I muted? Oh, y'all were talking to me. My bad.
They just pulled an Oilo on us.
That was genius. All right. Where have y'all seen arrow functions? Can y'all can hear me, right?
I had a question for you, John.
Oh, what was your question?
Can you show us an example where you have like nested one-liners? So like, let's just imagine 2 or 3 fat arrows so that you have this one top level function which takes in a multiplier, and then your second function is going to take that multiplier and apply it
only because I think y'all should just get the basic syntax down first. Let's not stress too much about the complicated scenario, considering I've never done a multi-line thing like that before. I've seen Kyle do it. I haven't done it. I don't really think it's that necessary to do your first time doing arrow functions. I'm going to reject you. Is that okay?
That's fine, man. I'm used to rejection.
All right. Me too. I know the feel. I know the feels. Here's my virtual hug. Got you, buddy. All right. Cool. So next thing. Where have y'all seen arrow functions before? Where have you seen fat arrows?
When we're enumerating.
What was that?
When we're iterating.
Iterables. I'm just going to call them like enumerable like things. So we'll call it like dot map, dot filter, dot, what else? Dot for each. There's dot find. There's a whole shit ton of them. Cool. Where else?
Anonymous functions.
Fetches.
Oh, I heard two beautiful ones. The best one was anonymous functions. No offense, Johnny. I'm sorry.
It's all good, man.
Okay. So I'm going to write the word anonymous function down here. We've also heard fetches. And I think there's one more instance that we've seen them a bunch. Anyone got it? One more. Anyone?
What else?
Oh, when you like parse JSON.
That is one, but that's really the fetches. I would say in our event listeners. Or really anywhere. Oh, I see what I keep hitting to mute my sound. Because it's right by my delete button. Or really anywhere where we have a callback function. That's going to be a big keyword too today. Callback function and anonymous function are two huge concepts that are a little bit far-fetched, that once you can wrap your brain around them, it's going to make your life a lot easier. So first, let's talk about what is an anonymous function. So to dive into that, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pop open Node, and I'm going to write out. Let's make a function. Let's make a say hi function. So I'll say const say hi is a function of greeting, and then it's going to return a greeting. Cool. Let's actually just make sure that this function works before I do anything. So I'm actually going to, exit out of that. Oh, fuck. We're going to do console.log hello. Oh, whoops. Say hi. And the greeting will be, hello, my friend. Cool. Let's just make sure this works. I'm going to write node arrow function.js. Cool. So it works. Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop into node here. If I chop off this half of this and I look at what data type that is, what do y'all think it's going to be? All of this. I kind of just cheated and showed you. What data type?
You chop off what?
If I chop off everything that's highlighted here, I copy and I paste it into Node, what data type do you think it's going to be?
It'll be a function.
It's going to be a function. Love it. Bam, bam. And here's what it says. It says that it's an anonymous function. Huh. How do I invoke a function?
You use the function name and then the parentheses after it.
Yep. So let's pretend like this is a function name, okay? All of this anonymous function, we're just going to pretend like it's a function name. I just want to lump it all together using these parentheses. That's all that those parentheses are doing is lumping it all together, kind of like a very mathematical version of parentheses. And then I'm going to invoke it with some kind of greeting. So let's invoke it with, sup, bro? Hey, look. Guess what? It took this and it ran that like a function and it just returned whatever I put in it because that's what this block does. The difference between this and a regular old function is literally just that this function doesn't have a name. That's it. Let's actually make another one in here. What if I say a function of A and B, and I want to return A plus B. What type of data type is this? Function, right? So that means I could also invoke this. I could also say, let's invoke this with 1 and 2. And hey, look at that. It spits out 3. And it acts exactly like a function. Does everybody understand that? Anybody having trouble with that concept there? Because if you're sitting there and saying to yourself, I think I understood what he just did, but I would like to maybe like regurgitate it back, please do that. It would be great to have someone sit here and try to explain to me what they just saw, because then I get an idea of if you understand or picking up what I'm putting down. What did I just do?
So you took like the parameters and the return and you made that a function name or just like in a complete function and then invoked it.
So what I did was I took the block of code that is stored to the function name and I treated it all as its own thing. I'm going to give y'all a definition by word, and I want y'all to just say it to yourself a few times. An anonymous function, okay? An anonymous function is just a function without a name. So let's think about that for a second. Let's make a more complex one. Let's do a function called add. Actually, let's do double. We're going to take a number and we're going to return number times 2. Okay. So an anonymous function, this half, all that is a function without a name. Music, what's an anonymous function?
Function without a name.
Cool, Johnny, what's an anonymous function?
A function without a name.
Hey, what's an anonymous function?
A function without a name.
Rodney, what's an anonymous function?
Function without a name.
Cool. Awesome. So an anonymous function is a function without a name, but guess what? A fat arrow function, all that is assigning a variable an anonymous function as its value. That's trippy, right? This thing is an anonymous function. All I'm doing is storing that to a variable here. That's all that an ES6 function is. Who do I got on this call? Let's see. Katie, are you with us?
Yeah.
All right. What's an ES6 function in terms of anonymous function? Variables. What did I just say an ES6 function was?
Sorry, I forgot.
An ES6, well, let's see if anyone else remembers. Marcos, what is an ES6 function?
It's an anonymous function set to a variable.
Great. It's a
Bingo.
variable with an anonymous function set as its value.
But then it's not anonymous anymore, right?
Beautiful. That's totally fine. That's great that you're thinking about it that way. Exactly. It's not really anonymous anymore because we gave it a name. But this half is just an anonymous function. And I think it helps to like separate the two in your head as far as understanding what's going on. I'm going to quiz some more people. Paige, what is an anonymous function?
Function without a name.
An anonymous function is a function without a name. And back to Katie, what is an ES6 function in terms of anonymous functions?
Like a function that's being set to like a variable.
To an anonymous function. I'm sorry. Yeah, that kind of makes sense. Yeah, sorry. I went backwards in my head. Yeah, that's fine. Cool. Awesome. Sweet. So this concept seems super easy, but it's actually kind of difficult to understand. Let's say that I do a dot then, and then I say, whoops, response goes to response, whoops, dot JSON, like Rodney said before. If I were to take everything inside of this dot then, what would that data type be, Rodney?
A function.
Exactly, it's just a function. It's an anonymous function. Let's prove that to ourselves. Bam, it's an anonymous function.
Is that an anonymous function with a callback function?
This is using an anonymous function as your callback function. What's a callback function, Johnny?
It's a function that takes in another function as a parameter.
Ah, your definition is close, but not correct.
Okay.
A callback function is not a function that takes another function as an argument. A callback function is that argument. For example, let's say I have a function that uses a callback. Let's say function, whoops. Great. Bam. And then its argument is a callback. Well, this outer function is a function that uses a callback, but the callback is actually just that argument. It's just that function.
So like in your then, where you were parsing JSON, so I was wondering if the .json, which was invoked, was the callback function, and then the broader statement was like the full anonymous function.
No, in a dot then takes in one argument. That one argument is your callback function that gets run.
And that's because the dot then is its own function.
The dot then is a function that runs a callback function after the next thing, after the previous thing comes to it, right? There actually is a second optional argument, but we don't use it in this program so far.
John, I think what Johnny was asking is why in the response.json, what are the parentheses doing after the JSON? Like it's not invoking anything, right?
That is a method that gets, let's talk about this. Let's say I have response goes to response.json, right? What I am saying is when this comes through, run all of this. All of this is a callback function, right? So I'm saying when this comes through, run this function. This function is saying, take the response and parse the response. This .json is something that you can only do with a promise. It's a method that comes in there. So yes, that is its own function, but the function that gets run as a callback is all of this.
So it's a function within the callback function.
Yes. But also when you invoke it, it's no longer a function anymore. All of this turns into a value, right? All of that just turns into a value. And this is saying return that value. I think it might be easier to think about something that's not a promise. Let's do a different one. Let's do a map, right? Let's say I have an array. I'm going to delete all this stuff. 1, 2, 3. Cool. Let's say I want to just change all of these to double them. I'm going to say, let's console.log log array.map. And then guess what? All this is a callback. So a callback does not have to be anonymous. It can. Let's do an explicit callback. I'm just going to make one called double. Function double. You're going to input a number, and it is going to return number times 2. Nothing fancy here, right? Oh, wait, except for I called the callback function callback. So instead of calling it double, I'm going to call it callback right now. We're going to run this. Cool. I'm going to run node. Cool, so that works, right? I'm saying what is my callback function that I'm going to use? I'm going to use this guy right here. And then, oh, do y'all have another lesson?
Yeah, state just started.
Y'all go to that. That's more important. But also, if you want a continued ES6 thing, this is a good thing to learn. So just request it again. I would say go to that lesson there. That's more important right now.
All right, thank you.
All right, later, y'all. Have a good one.